First and foremost, I want to give a lot of love and respect and honor to the entire branch here who has hosted me this week. The hospitality has been absolutely phenomenal. I forgot who I told this, but I would have thought that I was back home in the South with how I've been treated this week in the French toast from John, and Gary and Lalonde's great food, and all these things. So thank you all first and foremost for the wonderful hospitality. Before I get into my talk, in 2010 I was in Colombia, and it was a very, very, very critical part, a first step of my development. And so I'm going to share some of that and just kind of talk with you all and share some things about me. Are the brothers and sisters from Colombia here? They weren't able to make, okay. Okay, well hopefully they'll see this because there's definitely a lot of things that I wanted to share and speak directly to them in reference to solidarity here and how their struggles have helped me and us. But before I do that, I do want to share a song with you all. I don't do this very often, but I sung this song down in Colombia. I sung this song in Latoma. And the Afro-Colombians were so moved, they made me sing the song again and teach it to them. So I have to share it here with you all. I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. Angels in heaven sign my name. I said I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. Angels in heaven, angels in heaven sign my name. In 2010, I attended a 12-day delegation with an organization called Witness for Peace, a human rights organization with a focus on Central and South America. I had learned of them several months prior when Witness for Peace sponsored a tour of 2 activists from Colombia to come to the U.S. and share their work there in Raleigh-Durham. They went to several churches and universities, and my university was one stop. Politically at this time, I was reading a lot of Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and anything that I could find from the Black Panther Party. I was just discovering what it meant to be black in this country, culturally, politically, and artistically. I was playing catch-up because the history and contributions of people of African descent in the U.S. really isn't taught in the public school system in North Carolina. I can't speak for here in New York. And my parents also really didn't know much of it either. Out of all of the important figures, Malcolm X became my main man, and in a very much so way, he still is. What was most interesting was his political transformation. It was Malcolm who, during the Civil Rights Movement, challenged the black community to begin thinking internationally instead of just domestically, to think globally instead of just about the ghettos and trailer parks here at home. His call, his political call, became human rights and not just civil rights. He called for revolution when others were calling for voting rights, which of course are good too, but revolution is much better than voting rights. Those words really stuck with me, but didn't really quite make sense. Human rights and revolution, I didn't really know what they looked like. All I knew was that the black community had the boot of racism on our backs. And then I went to Colombia in the winter of 2010, which marked the beginning of my own political development. Here I was, living with the indigenous, high up in the Andes Mountains for a week. Then we stayed with the Afro-Colombians for a week. I saw firsthand how multinational corporations were destroying the land and homes of both groups who had lived there for centuries. I saw firsthand how people were living on rubber plantations and sugar plantations, exploited for their labor, and treated like slaves, literally. And I'm not talking about 1865. This was 2010, a decade into the 2000s. Someone, a few little water. I listened firsthand to the brave youth whose mothers and fathers were killed for being local leaders. All they wanted, just like we want here in Ferguson and the Black Lives Matter movement, was to breathe and to continue the traditions of their ancestors. All they wanted was human rights, and some of them were dying for these rights, murdered just for speaking up. I also witnessed firsthand how the women were leading struggles in these settlements. They weren't just being pretty and preparing the food. They were preparing for justice. They were leading struggles by any means necessary. Young women of color were carrying rifles on their backs as they were guiding us along the backwoods of the Andes Mountains. At night, these women were also on guard duty, along with the men. They were making sure that I could sleep and other delegates on our tour could sleep. And all of this kind of began to change me. I saw firsthand how the artists were dedicating their creativity to inspire the people. The poets, the painters, the musicians, they were using their talents to empower the people spiritually and emotionally. So here we are in 2015, smack in the middle of the Eric Garner and Trayvon Martin era. In an era where black and brown folk can't breathe in this country, just like they could not breathe in Suacha, in Latoma, in Buenaventura. Here we are in an era where families can't afford food, just like they, in many ways, could not feed themselves. Where corporations were gentrifying our neighborhoods here and working class communities here, these corporations were doing the same thing in their ancestral lands. Right here in the U.S., we're living at a time where fingers of capitalism are literally squeezing the life out of us. Just like the Colombians on those rubber and sugar plantations were being exploited like slaves for their labor. Private prisons are doing the same thing right here in the United States. When I think about the three young queer women actually, who started the Black Lives Matter in Ferguson, I cannot help but to think of the young women in Colombia with rifles on their backs, helping to guide us through the Andes Mountains. 2014 marked the beginning of a new revolution right here in the United States. Whether we want to realize that or whether we really see it or not, it has begun. black folk and white folk, young folk and old folk, men and women taking back the streets, disrupting the flow of capitalism, disrupting the status quo of the ruling elite, storming shopping malls, preventing traffic from flowing through, die-ins, occupying city halls, demanding from mayors, from city council, from police chiefs to be accountable. Youth in Ferguson challenging excessive force and police brutality head on. In 2010, I was touching revolution, just a little taste of it for the first time deep in the regions of Colombia. Tonight, I'm touching the revolution right here in this room. In their absence, much respect to our international visitors. We stand in solidarity in support of their struggles. We have learned from them, and we are empowered by them. I say much thanks to those who are here in New York, in the Branch of Workers' World Party, for hosting this, what I say, country boy from North Carolina, this week. In closing, I say power to the people. I say power to the oppressed. And I want to thank the elders here. And this is off of my speech. I want to thank the elders here for passing on the next torch. I've been talking with Fred. We talked for 2 hours. Wednesday, we talked for 2 hours. Thursday. We're talking with Gary, talking with John, Larry, Monica. You know, and being an 80s or 90s baby, you know, we didn't really get what you all received. We did not see all the various different international struggles and countries and ethnicities and various different fronts coming together. We didn't get that. We got Ronald Reagan and the war on drugs. Yeah, ouch, exactly. So being able to sit at you all's feet, metaphorically speaking, and to listen and to take notes and to tweak and to learn, that is priceless. And it has been priceless for me this week, just like my 2 weeks in Colombia. I want to challenge the youth to continue to receive from the elders, but I also want to challenge the elders. When you see youth in the street, when you see young comrades in the party coming to a meeting or at a PPA or at a demonstration, share something with them. Tell them what happened. Your experiences, the Chet Offensive, and you know, I was listening to Kathleen Cleaver talk about the Black Panther Party and Eldridge Cleaver's exile to Algeria just this morning on the radio. So I'm soaking all of these things up, and it's going to take that for us. It's going to take that for us to really, you know, receive that baton and know how to take that baton in the right direction, and know how to elevate the struggle to the next level that we will need to survive this capitalist system. Not just to survive this capitalist system, to break it down, and to fight back against it. Yes. So, again, thank you all for your hospitality, and it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Matter movement in Durham, or the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area. It's, quite honestly, there's an internal struggle right now. And that's just to be very frank and very honest with the comrades in this room, and I think you all might be able to relate. And so now, when Ferguson first happened, there was a call for a national moment of silence. You all may remember that, may not. And it actually went out on social media. It started via Twitter by a sister named Feminista Jones, and she sent out this call for folks through Twitter. She's probably got, 50,000 followers on Twitter, and when she sends this out, people actually received it. to do something. And so in Durham, a few of us kind of gathered our heads together and said, hey, yeah, we want to have a national moment of silence here in Durham, but we're not going to be very silent. So we did it our way, which was to cause some ruckus in an organized fashion and begin educating our community politically. And so out of that national moment of silence came an organization called Black International Solidarity, Black is for short. All of us young brothers and sisters right there, either recent grads or young professionals, working class, and the community really received this. It was probably 50-50, 50% black and brown youth, 50% white youth. And the tone of our first demonstration there for this national moment of silence was unlike anything else that our city had really ever experienced before. They're used to more Mondays. They're used to, I'll say this on camera, they're used to Reverend Barber. They're used to the progressive and liberal crowd coming and sharing some good words, but they were not used to seeing black, brown, and white youth work together on a very militant, uncompromising front. Scared the shit out of the fucking city. The mayor, police chief, city manager, they had these blurbs in the media, but we continued. And all of a sudden, these demonstrations all over Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill just erupted. Just like they were doing, throughout the country. And, the area just had not seen anything like that before, where people walking into the malls and shutting down stores in the malls, shutting down the main highway. The police department wasn't even prepared for that. We had 42 people. Over the course of about a month time span of demonstrations, we had 42 people be arrested, and that's huge for our area. And again, I would probably say on the 50-50 note, and a lot of women were involved in these struggles as well. And so, the Durham branch, we kind of sat back and looked at this and did some reflecting. We're still reflecting and talking. Other groups started coming together. You had groups who in the past month or year would, there's obviously, you're looking at me, I'm looking at you, there's animosity, but we just started to set our differences aside and begin to work together. And so here, now there's a Black Lives Matter branch in the city of Durham, but there is an older wing, just to be quite honest, there's an older wing who's more on the reformist, perspective. There's a younger crowd who's saying, look, that shit is played out. We want something new. I'm serious. We want something new. And this is a perfect time. The youth, the movement, we're really wide open, We're in meetings discussing anti-capitalism, which is something that they're not even doing on the college campuses, Duke, UNC, all these other universities. The students are discussing, capitalism and socialism in public forums in the city. And that, that's a really big step. And that's why I kind of reminded and challenged the elders to say, hey, we do need, your insight, and we do need your teaching. Especially if you're revolutionary. That's right. You don't have a class on Sunday, don't you? Yes, great. So the Durham branch specifically. The Durham branch, we've got about a three-prong attack on the system, the state, capitalism. Number one is police brutality. We've been fighting police brutality, boots on the ground, right there in the community, since 2012. We've had 5 people killed in between 2012 and 2013. Racial profiling, skyrocketing. The U.S. Justice Department has been there twice to investigate the Durham Police Department. On the first, Police brutality, boom, that's one wing. The other wing is the fast food workers. I got to give them some props. Ben Carroll really helping to drive the fast food worker struggle there. And now just recently, another struggle came to our branch directly. Alina, myself, really kind of spearheaded this and got the branch involved. Peter's been playing a really big legal part in this. Durham Public School custodial workers. From the month of November to December, not only were they not paid for their work and for their labor, and I'm going to cut this short. Thank you, Larry, for looking up at that clock. No, but I was doing the same thing. From November to December, not only were they not paid, they were also laid off. There were 90 of them who were laid off right before Christmas. Ouch. One of them was evicted from their home. Many other issues happen, you know, even internally within your family when layoffs and stress, all these things, right? And so there was one of the workers there. She works in the admin. And she came to Alina first and said, hey, this is what happened to us. What the hell can we do about this? And, you know, I now live with Peter and Alina in the basement. And the three of us got together and started talking about this. And we were like, you know what? This worker struggle, this is a worker struggle. This is a struggle that our branch should be spearheading. And we did. We did. We called a press conference. We gathered the workers to the house. There were about 25 to 30 of them who all came down to the basement. We're talking. You know, we had an interpreter there because some of the workers are undocumented, mostly black and brown. And we held a press conference. The mayor, the superintendent, city manager were held accountable. And now, like, the press caught a hold of it. So the press now, you know, has really ran with the struggle as well. So you're talking state repression and police brutality, fast food workers, and now custodial workers, along with the Black Lives Matter movement there in Durham. You know, Black Workers for Justice there in Raleigh. And so you've got all this movement and all this energy going on, along with these young students who are full of energy and full of zeal. And it's rocking, and young people are open. And I'm just glad to say that, you know, the Durham branch is really helping to kind of, you know, drive this energy. The few of us that are there, we're helping to drive this energy. And it's funny, I forgot who I was telling this, but, you know, sometimes we'll be in meetings. There's community-wide meetings. There's some city officials there, right? And they'll see myself or Lena or Ben, you know, walk in the room, and you can tell. It's like, oh, shit, not those. You know, not those socialists, not those revolutionary communists. You know, not Workers' World Party. And so it's good, you know, it's good to have that reputation. We embrace that. So that's what's going on. And, you know, keep us in solidarity. And thank you for reminding me. The Tamir Rice indictment is coming up soon. You know, I don't suspect that, you know, the police will be held accountable like they never are. But we do have our fingers crossed. If not, you know, we'll continue to disrupt, and we'll continue to sound the alarm and raise consciousness.